Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. I've just given this talk already. I'm going to give it again. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better this time. I think I forgot to put some things in last time. So I'm going to be talking about the fourth precept. And the fourth precept is truthful speech, abstaining from false speech. After I've done that, Bodhinaga will speak about the fifth precept, which is mindfulness. And that will complete the whole set of 5 that we've covered this weekend. So we've covered do no harm, don't take things that haven't been freely given to you, generosity, although Jayagupta talked about what's fair, stillness, simplicity and contentment, which is also abstaining from sexual misconduct, and today truthful speech. So I'm going to talk about truthful speech, and I'm also going to talk about abstaining from harsh speech. Out of the 5 precepts that you take as a friend or a mitra, the speech precept is truthful speech. But as an order member, I took 4 speech precepts, which are abstaining from speech that's false, harsh, frivolous and slanderous. And in the positive form, they're speech that's truthful, kind, helpful and harmonious. And I've picked out harsh speech just because it's something that's particularly pertinent to me at the moment. And because these are precepts that I undertook at my ordination, I wanted to talk from my personal experience. And Bhante has been asked before why we have 4 speech precepts where there's just 1 for other areas. And I think he said in the 10 pillars, and this might be slightly paraphrased, this isn't a word for word quote. He said the reason that we have 4 speech precepts is because speech is the interface between self and other. What we say is actually really important. It has a massive effect on the people around us and on ourselves. So paying attention to our speech is really important. So has anybody in this room ever shouted at their children before? Put your hands up.
Not yet.
I'm aware that for the parents with very young children, this might seem a bit alarming and irrelevant. My children are 5 and 7. And I have shouted at my children on many an occasion. And that's why I wanted to talk about harsh speech as well. It's something that's very alive for me and something that I'm working on. So I wanted to talk about something that I'm really working on at the moment, and I hope that it might also be useful to anybody else too. Firstly, I'm going to look at truthful speech, however. So there's lots of times as parents that we don't tell the truth to our children. Father Christmas, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy. And there's other things that are slightly more serious where we may choose to not tell the whole truth to our children. We might feel some conflict with this as Buddhists, because if we take the precepts and if we choose to follow the precepts and we're saying that we want our speech to be truthful, we might feel conflicted around questions like, is Father Christmas real? Or why did Grandma die? And feel like we need to give them the hard and harsh truth, the reality of the situation. And I just wanted to talk about this because I think a useful bit of guidance with the precepts is that all of the precepts are underpinned by the first precept. The first precept is do no harm. And I think with regards especially to small children, being selective about what we do tell them or how much of a full answer we give them to questions can be underpinned by the intention to do no harm. So if one of my children asks me if the tooth fairy is real, I don't see any beneficial reason to say no. I actually don't believe the tooth fairy isn't real, but that's a whole other thing. So I can't see how it would benefit them. You know, I think our lives are enriched by myth and by story, and I personally don't think everything has to be about hard, harsh truth, objective truth, reality. So it's an interesting area. I think with ethics, with precepts, you know, they're not set rules where we just have to do as we're told. We don't do exactly as it is. We have to apply them to each different situation and use our own judgment as to what's appropriate at the time. There could be situations where they might ask us really tough questions, and we might choose to be very selective with what we tell them rather than give them the whole story. I've used the example before. It's quite a hard thing to talk about, but if you're in a situation where you may only have one parent at home and the other parent is not in the situation anymore, is completely left, and they want to know why, it probably would do them more harm than good to go into all the ins and outs of exactly why that parent isn't on the scene anymore. So we can be selective, and we're not breaking the precepts by doing that, because we're observing the first precept at the same time, which is to do no harm. I think also the truthful speech, the whole area of truthful speech, covers things such as factual clarity and emotional clarity as well. Children want to know what things mean. I had this slightly awkward time when Matilda, who is my 7-year-old, wanted to know what the word sexy meant. So I'm like, oh goodness. What do I say? She needs an answer. I want to give her an answer to the question. So I've checked out how much she knew about it. And she said, well, one of my friends said that her mum said that sexy means silly girl. And I thought, oh, but it doesn't. That isn't what it means. No dictionary would say that, would it? You know. So I didn't want her to have the wrong idea of what it meant. I wanted her to have a sense of what it meant, but at the same time, she's 7. So I tried to keep it as factually accurate as I could, but not give her too much information, or information that wasn't going to be age appropriate to a 7-year-old. So what I ended up doing was I said, well, it's a grown-up word. It's a word only grown-ups use, and it's because it's to do with after we've hit puberty, because she knows what puberty is, so I've already covered that with her before. And I just said it's about when adults, you know, feel like they want to be huggy and kissy with other adults, because we talked about that as well, and I left it at that point. I had a really good advice from a friend, which is just, she said, just answer the question. If a child asks you something, just answer the question. You don't need to go into all the ins and outs and all the details, because that can sometimes overload them, or at best you'll just lose them and they'll just start walking away from you. It's like a 3-year-old goes, where's the rain come from, Mommy? And we start going into sort of the whole ecosystem and rivers and, you know, evaporation and everything. Well, they'll just turn around and walk away. Just say the rain comes from the clouds. And I think truthful speech, yeah, it covers emotional clarity as well. This is something I've found really important around the whole area of modelling a kind of emotional intelligence for our children, and teaching them a whole range of emotional experience, that we can kind of have a bit of a wrong view that we have to be super positive and happy all the time. And my experience of being a mum who in the early years of parenting, I had postnatal depression with both of my children, there were times where I just really wasn't feeling it, you know. If I was feeling overwhelmed or unhappy, and they were like, what, Mummy, you okay, Mummy, Mummy? I might just say, well, Mummy's feeling a bit sad, you know, and that's okay. Because then they might see Mummy looking happy half an hour later or something, and then see that you can change from one to the other state, and that's all okay. And it felt quite important for me to be able to do that. And it fills me with great joy now when I can ask my children how they are, and we can try and find a word to express how they're feeling as well. Yeah. So I feel that the whole area of truthful speech is about having a factual and emotional clarity, and also about choosing how much of the truth is relevant to the child in that particular situation. What we choose to tell our child in response to a question at age 3, we may at age 20 have a very different response to the same question. So on to harsh speech, or its positive side, kindly speech. I yell at my children. I don't like that I do that. In fact, I hate that I do that sometimes. When I do it, I feel out of control. I feel frustrated. But sometimes I yell at my children And it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine to shout at Malachi as he's about to run into the road. It's perfectly fine to shout at your child as they reach out for the hot pan on the stove. It's very appropriate to yell at them in that situation, because back to what I said about the first precept underpinning everything, do no harm. We're trying to prevent harm. So I feel no remorse at all about yelling at the top of my voice in the busy school run in Hunter's Bar and all the kids are around. Malachi! Stop right now! I don't feel at all embarrassed or self-conscious or bad, and I don't feel like I have to apologise to my child for that. It was completely appropriate for me to do that, and for him to feel a bit upset that he got shouted at, because I wanted him to be safe. And I explained to him afterwards, I shouted because I wanted you to be safe. However, when I'm getting them ready for school, and we're in a rush and we're running late, me yelling at them, being foul to them, is not on. And I'm not pleased with myself that I do that. I can come away from a school run, get back to my car or get home and get ready for work feeling utterly dreadful. That I've been going, come on, for goodness sake, get ready, we're going to be late, it's all your fault. All those unskillful things I said. That wasn't fair and it wasn't on. And I can experience difficult feelings in myself and not feel good about myself at all. And actually in Buddhism, that's a good thing. It's good that I feel remorse. There's a word kri, which is a positive sense of shame, where we're actually aware of having acted in an unskillful way and are then motivated to want to do something about it. So I can come away from situations like that thinking, I don't want to be like this. That was not me at my best. I want to be better than this, and I know I can be. So in order to do that, once I've had that difficult feeling, there's then a whole series of things that I can do. I think the first thing I need to do actually is be kind to myself. Say, okay, Kamalanandi, it's alright. You weren't the parent you wanted to be right then. You're not perfect, you're never going to be perfect, but it's okay. And give myself some love. I think that's a really important thing to do as Buddhist parents actually. We're not about berating ourselves, and giving ourselves a hard time. Yeah, see that we did something we didn't like to do, then give ourselves some love and say it's okay. What are we going to do about this, And then observe the conditions. Have a look and see, well, what led to that situation being so difficult? So I know that I only shout when I'm tired, time pressured, and sometimes when I'm hungry. All of those things are completely preventable. I can get to sleep early. I can put the alarm clock on to give enough time to get ready in the morning. I can lay out the children's uniforms the night before so they're all ready, even get their pants and socks out so it's all just there for them instead of, go and get dressed, I don't know what I'm wearing, come on, hurry up. It can all be there. I can do that, I'm the adult. I can lay that out for them. I can keep checking my time through breakfast to check that we're running okay for time. I can even aim to leave 5 minutes earlier so that I can get the children in the car.
Sorry,
Oh.
I can't call him.
Okay. Just going to pause for a few minutes for emergency.
Sorry.
It's okay, it's fine, it's fine. Yeah, Tent's fallen down. So, where was I? Yeah, so I can keep checking my clock. I can even be super organised, this has never happened yet, and make sure that we get in the car 5 minutes earlier. So there's absolutely no need to worry about getting to school on time. And if I do all of those things, if I look after myself and be the adult in the situation and plan ahead, I get the lovely experience of being able to walk away from having dropped them off at school with a good feeling. Feeling right, they're good, they're at school now, that's good. I can go to work, job done, great, I'll see them later. And it's great. And I did that. I did that through planning, through being the adult, and through observing all the conditions and realising that I can change that. I've got agency in all of that, So this is a bit like, you might have come across the 4 right efforts in studies or in Buddhism. The 4 right efforts are preventing unskillful mental states arising, eradicating unskillful mental states, cultivating positive mental states, and maintaining positive mental states. So in this situation, the mental states that we're trying to prevent or eradicate is sort of frustration and the anger with the child, time-related difficulties. And through planning ahead and observing the conditions, I'm able to prevent those of even arising. And ultimately, I would hope, eradicate them altogether through lots of good planning and through mindfulness. Cultivate positive habits, positive mental states, and maintain them, keep them going. And we do all this through observing the conditions, through observing that everything else affects everything else, and observing where we have agency in all of those. It doesn't just happen to us. It didn't just happen that we were in a rush, you know? It wasn't some kind of planetary alignment. I actually had a say in that. So, we set up supportive conditions out of which better mental states can arise. And we can see planning ahead as an act of love. And we can do this with mindfulness and with metta. How am I doing for time, Vinny?
Yeah, 13 minutes.
13, okay, alright. Sorry?
I forgot something.
It's okay. So, planning ahead is an act of love. And we can do all of this with the support of mindfulness and metta. And as well with the children, we have a bit of a situation around supper time, where I might suddenly say, right, it's dinner, but they don't want to turn the television off and they don't want to come through. And even worse, I might shout through from the kitchen to the front room, which is actually 3 rooms. We've got kitchen, dining room, front room. I might yell from the kitchen and go, it's supper time, come on! And then be annoyed that they don't come straight away. So I shouted at them and I didn't give them any warning. And really what I've learnt literally in the last week is that if I go through and I give them a warning, I say, a couple of minutes time kids, could you turn it off when I come and ask you? And I don't shout at them. I get much better results from them. Because I'm respecting the space that they're in so that they can come and respect the fact that I've just cooked the dinner for them. And the reason I get angry is when they don't come through, because I feel like I'm being taken for granted and they're not appreciating that I've just been in the kitchen for half an hour. That's what makes me angry. But if I give them advance warning, we don't have that situation. They come straight to the table and then I get that sense of satisfaction being able to put the meals in front of them, and it's all good. It was simple and it's taken me a long time to work that out. And it also means that it's a lot easier to request that they don't shout at me. They don't shout upstairs, Mom, I can't find this! Because if I'm shouting at them from the kitchen saying, come on kids, well, of course they're going to do the same back, aren't they? So, I think with all of these things, you can really see that actually we don't act in isolation. Within a family unit, we're all connected up to each other. Everything we all do has an effect on everybody else. And we have a say in how that works. We don't have to be passive in these situations. We can see, when we practice mindfulness and metta, we can see that everything we do has an effect. If we take the time and the effort to work on how we speak to our children, we're going to see that bear fruit. And it won't only be a benefit in our family, we're actually going to see it benefiting out and radiating out and out into the world. Thank you.